Hey y'all, it's April the 25th, 2017, and before I start this video, I want to make a shout out to my boy Kevin Casey, alright? I want to let you know before we even start this that I have a respect for you. I certainly do. Thing is, it's hard to recognize that sometimes, and I know that, but I do want to explain. I do got respect for you. If I didn't, I wouldn't have said a word to you. And that's just how it goes. Like, I have to have a certain respect for a person in order to speak to them. Alright? And I know lots of times it comes off a little bit brash. In fact, maybe all the time. But I want to let you know, and I hope that you understand that I consider you a friend on the internet. Like, you know what I mean? I do have respect for you. And before I continue with the video, I have to remind you out there, I do have a brother. His name's Andrew Trevino. I have a few brothers, but Andrew Trevino, man, don't tell nobody, but he's my favorite. Alright? And just like my other brothers, he is an atheist. In fact, he's probably more atheist than the other two. Alright? And he's my favorite. That's the thing about it. Very intrigued when I talk to him. I love talking to that dude. Alright? So, with that all being stated, I want to just dive into the video. Alright? That was more esoteric, but this one's for everybody. Like, this part of the video, I think everybody could take something away from it. Here's the thing. Kevin Casey, along with other people to include Andrew Trevino, here's what I want to explain. Alright? Or here's what I want to at least share with you to think about and meditate on. Alright? Um, here, I want to explain. I know and understand, and I see where you're coming from, and in that you don't really appreciate any of these mass religions, these mass organized religions and stuff. And basically, you feel that if we were to alleviate all of them off the earth and everybody just do their own thing kind of individually, that would bring about more peace and more success and it'd be more constructive. I understand what you're saying, right? And I respect where you come from. Like, I've seen people who came from there, very smart people, all right? I understand it, but at the same time, in a way, it's kind of fantasyland stuff, because here's the thing. Before Jesus, before Allah, before, you know, all these different gods that you're hearing about, people have always been worshiping gods. Alright, the Bible talks about it. All sort of history books talk about it. It doesn't matter if there's a God or not. People will make it up. Alright, not only that, they'll continue on and they'll gather together about it, and then they'll form churches or whatever, places of worship. They're going to do it regardless. Alright, all day. That's what Earth is. It's gonna happen. So I appreciate where you're coming from, but you're not gonna alleviate religions off the earth. Neither am I. It's just not gonna happen. And so I understand it's not just Jesus that you're singling out. You see Jesus as being the most prominent uh, God or Son of God to focus on, because he is so prevalent here in America. And I want to touch on that a little bit. All right. If you take a look at a lot of history and stuff in the Wayback Machine, uh, you understand that, you know, people, first of all, wars have been happening, and a lot of these wars have nothing to do with religion. So to think that getting rid of religion is to get rid of wars, that's also some fantasyland stuff. But all right, wars have been happening. People have been conquering. People have been like taking over some land and stuff, and that's always been the pattern. That's gonna happen. All right, I want you to look at how many regimes have been established through, say, atheism, and there have been some. I want you to look at those societies, such as China, for example. Um, I want you to look at those societies and understand that they're hella oppressive, all right? They really, really are. In fact, they're usually the most oppressive. ironically, all right? And there's all these different societies that believe in different gods, such as Allah, all around and stuff. And they can be very oppressive too. They really can. What I want to point out is that America, for example, is based, and its legislation is based, for the most part, on Judeo-Christian values. This is something that most people will not bother to debate against because it's just all in your face, Judeo-Christian values, and there's a lot of countries in Europe that are just the same. All right, and what I want to explain, in case if you didn't know, is that in these countries, such as America and in Europe, you can say whatever you want to, and guess what? You're not going to jail. Probably no one's going to persecute you at all. People are going to leave you alone to do whatever you want to do. That's America. That's a lot of these countries in Europe. You can say whatever you want. You could speak against Jesus, speak against whatever God you want. We're not going to put you in jail. We're not going to hang you from a tree. There are countries, and I mean a lot of countries, you can't do that in, namely the Middle East and Africa. You cannot do that. You couldn't be saying the same words that you're saying here in North Korea, for example. And that is atheist. That's an atheist country. Um, you couldn't be saying these words in most of Africa or in the Middle East and a lot of Asia. You could not be saying these words and get away with it. Meanwhile, you're in America, and a lot of people don't care, and a lot of people are just happy to let you go about your day, and they don't mind it. You have to understand that that's a blessing upon you, that you are allowed to say what you want, and not only will you not be oppressed, not only will you not be hung from a tree, but people like me who firmly believe in Jesus, who will not be swayed, even us, we're not gonna attack you. We're not gonna like burn your house down. It's just not gonna happen. And I hope that you can appreciate that. And at the same time, I hope that you can appreciate that religions are gonna happen regardless of what we want. Wars are gonna happen regardless of whether or not it's a religion involved. Right. And you like to think about a lot of people like for example, a lot of people like to think of the Native Americans and be like, oh man, Europeans believing in Christianity, they came and they killed all these Native Americans. These Native Americans, although they weren't very homogenous, they had tribes and regions, they also believed in gods. They also fought each other. They also took each other's land. And historically speaking, people are finding out that they probably weren't even the first people on this country. All right. So I do want to touch upon the fact that history is ever evolving. Science is ever evolving. They're not concrete things necessarily. All right. They keep on finding out stuff. And that's the cool thing about history and science and things like that. All right. So these things would be going on. And whether Jesus is real or not, one second. Whether Jesus is real or not, and like I said, there's a mountain of evidence that he is real, and there's also a mountain of evidence that there isn't real. You do have to acknowledge that there is evidence. I know that you like to say that there isn't, but there is a mountain. You have to just look into it. And I acknowledge there's a mountain of evidence to say that Jesus ain't real. I acknowledge that. I've looked at both, chose the Jesus side. All right. Okay, so whether or not Jesus is real, you do have to thank him for the fact that you could say what you want. You really do. You do have to look at other countries where you cannot say what you want. And they do have gods, they are not Jesus. All right. So I did want to touch upon all that. And I just let you I know where you're coming from. I understand. All right. You're speaking in ideals, and God bless you for that, dude. Like, I don't have a problem with that, but it is fantasy land type stuff, and for the most part, when it comes to these atheist regimes, um, they're extremely oppressive. They kill millions and millions of people and stuff. The atheism isn't really necessarily uh, like hope. I mean, here's the thing: you call it atheism, you can call it hope in humanity. At the same time, putting faith in humanity is also quite dangerous in that uh, humans do bad stuff sometimes, real bad stuff. So to believe in humanity is kind of a lost cause as well. And this is why people tend to, if they don't believe in God, they'll make up gods because it gives them some sort of foundation. They're no longer floating around wondering what it is that they believe in. All right. That all being said, like I said, respect you, Kevin Casey. I really do, and it's obvious. That all being said, I do want to touch upon the fact, or I mean, this might as well go ahead and shut off the video. This is just for one person in particular. I want to mention this. I have autism, and it's kind of messed up, but all sort of people have different kinds of autism. What I want to explain is my particular autism. What it does is it causes me to tell you the truth regardless. It causes me to be genuine with anybody and everybody regardless. Alright, so that is what happens. Alright, I want to let you know that I've had a lot of life experience and I already understand completely that this is a trait about me that I cannot change. I'll never be able to change it. At the same time, I firmly recognize that it's a trait about me that will drive away anybody and everybody at a certain point. Nobody's immune from it. They will run. They will block me. They will hide away. And it's just gonna happen. And I know when relationships start with me that that is going to be the end case. Thing is, I cannot help it. You understand? I have to live this way regardless. I have to tell you the truth. The truth has to come out of me because that is a way to show that I care. And mind you, I don't care about this said person romantically, but I do care a lot about that person. I want nothing but the best for you, alright? I understand that. But I do have to tell you the truth. It's OCD about me. Speaking of that, there's a lot of autistic people who are very superstitious, to include those with OCD. That is completely superstitious. They do things over and over and over for no reason. You know what I'm saying? It is basically superstitious. There's a lot of autistic people out there who are superstitious. There's a lot who aren't. There's a lot who do believe in Jesus. There's a lot who don't. It's a very mixed bag when it comes to autism. You'll find that it is extremely diverse. Alright, so the thing is, I wanted to let you know I have to tell you the truth regardless of your feelings. The reason is because that's the best way for me to show you that I do care about you. Not only that, I'll compliment you, I'll pay attention to you, I'll think deeply about what it is you're saying and see if I can come up with a response to it. I'll take time out of my day, and honestly, I do not take time out of my day for very many people. Right? That is the way that I can show you that I care about you, and inevitably, it's going to drive each and every person away, especially females. Right? It's going to do that. And I understand that. This is why I mentioned it previously. I always knew it was going to happen. And the thing is, I have to let you know I don't resent you at all. And at the same time, just because you mentioned it before, I don't resent my wife at all. Alright, the thing is, I didn't know so much back then, but at this point I know my characteristics will drive you away. It is only a matter of time. Alright, and so with that being said, the reason I don't resent you, and I want to let you know, being blocked is kind of painful. Being discarded, that is painful. There's pain to it every time. There's not there's not a single situation where I don't experience pain coming from the withdrawal process. But the reason that I don't resent you is because I know that you're a human being just like me. All right. In no way am I better than you. All right. So it's almost kind of foolish to resent you in that regard. But at the same time, what I tend to focus on inevitably is the good times that we've had, the nice things that you've told me, the nice things that I've told you on purpose. I meant to do it. I always knew that you would leave. I always knew I would be blocked. All right. And I said the nice things regardless because I want you to remember the nice things the way that I remember them. All right. And I'll keep it with me until I leave this earth. I promise you. I'll always remember the nice things. And that's the reason why I don't have resentment towards you. And I never will. And the thing is, honestly, human beings out there, there's certain ones that I dislike. And I especially dislike what they do. But I don't hate them. I can't bring myself to hate them necessarily because they are human beings just like me. And I'm no better than any of them. You understand? This is where forgiveness can give you a lot of power. Because you gotta understand if you are out there hating people or resenting people, to include parents and things like that, if you're hating and resenting people, they will conquer your brain and stuff. They'll take over and, you know what I'm saying? They'll take over your life to some extent. It's not a good idea. Anyways, I want to just say farewell to you. Alright? Won't never forget you. I want only the best for you out there. I always knew that this would happen, and it was inevitable, and it's something that I can't change about myself. Alright? There's been a lot of people in the Christian tradition who you could say this about, John the Baptist, all sort of apostles. There's been all sort of people who've had to live very lonely existences because of the fact that they can't change. They have to tell you the truth. It's almost impossible for them to be disingenuous. Right? And there's going to be a lot more after me who just need to tell you the truth. And that's not something they can change about themselves, just so you know. Anyways, it's April the 25th, 2017.